And I've been talking to a lot of people about a pretty bad flu and rising flu cases that have been going around. You know, I was off for a couple of days last week, horrendously sick, and people messaged me saying, yeah, there's a few things going around right now. So it's no surprise that it's also affecting kids in school, with UAE schools are asking parents to keep sick children at home amid a rise in flu cases. To get more on this is the Executive Principal at Fortes Education, Dr. Neil Hopkins. Thanks for joining us once again on Talk 100.3.
Thanks very much, Kitch. Nice to be talking to you. I have a lovely, clear voice and no sign of flu.
Well, you know, I was off sick for a while. I was COVID negative, and I speak to a lot of people, and there's certainly something going around is that, you know, the weather's cooling down and we're back socialising again in large numbers, which we really haven't done for a couple of years. But this is really important because you often think, my kid's a bit sick. Oh, I'm sure he'll be right, or he or she will be right, so I'll send them off to school. But it's an important lesson to keep kids that are sick at home so they don't infect everyone else at the school.
It is. I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, really, Kitch, because the truth of the matter is that we've always been used to this, especially within education. At this time of year, here in Dubai, the weather's turned. It's always the moment at which children start to bring those bugs and germs in, and we see that change in their health and well-being. Mm-hmm. This happens around about this time every year and always has. But I think we've had a couple of years where we've been very secluded and restricted in our movements, and everybody's been wearing a mask. And so perhaps in some cases, there's been a sense in which we've actually rather unusually been protected from that sort of spread of influenza. And perhaps some parents have forgotten what safe precautions are for them to take for the whole community.
Yeah, I know, and you often tend to think kids have been at home for so long, you know, and have been schooled for so long by distance education, they want to get back to school. But I can't see the kids complaining about this in any way. I can't see, you know, with the sorry, Mum, I've got to do the right thing, you know, can't get everyone else sick.
Some things never change, and we can always guarantee that children will lead with integrity and say, keep me at home, Mum. But I think, in all seriousness, I think it is important to remember the common sense and the frailty of our community and the fact that we are emerging from what has been a difficult time. And therefore, if you think that your child possibly has influenza, then don't just flip the coin and say, well, look, go in and see if you're okay. It will be better actually to say, why don't you stay at home and we'll see if you're okay, and then make that judgment there. But that relies on parents having common sense. And of course, as you say, that's not always easy when your child perhaps, and maybe you as a worker, have been chomping at the bit for them to be back in school. But I think we all have to keep the whole community in mind. And that's something that we learned during COVID, isn't mm-hmm. it? That actually we were making sacrifices for the whole community.
Well,
so I think that
you need to remember this is another sacrifice for the community as well. But you know, when it comes to kids being at school, is there any way teachers are still doing Zoom lessons, or is that completely out of the curriculum for this year?
It's really out of the curriculum. The regulations were changed so that actually here in Dubai, we're not able to offer that provision unless people have COVID. So that's not something that we're able to offer in our particular emirate, but and it may be different in other emirates across the country. However, again, in reality, I think, again, common sense should apply, and that if your child is unwell and they need to be at home for a couple of days, that's honestly not going to knock their education off course. We've all gone through schooling and had days when we've not been able to be in school, and we still did okay in our exams. I think what we've been through, where there's a protracted time of children not being able to go into school and perhaps be on Zoom and Teams and so on, that, of course, has a much more profound impact. But we're not talking about that here. We're talking about a lesser illness for most people that, in actual fact, they can recover from it in a few days.
Well, for many students, are we seeing, or is there any recommendation for some students if they maybe have been sick and they're coming back to school to start wearing masks again?
That's always been their prerogative. And so although it's not mandatory anymore, actually students can do that. And a number of students do choose to do that. And a number of parents, we still see parents coming in, some parents still wearing masks. course, that's their prerogative. And in many countries around the world, we're such a melting pot, aren't we, of nationalities here, that many people have come from countries where actually habitually people would wear masks. And so I think culturally it's not a problem. It doesn't really make people look twice anymore if you're wearing a mask. So, yes, undoubtedly, those that are worried about their child's health, if there are germs and bugs floating around, there's no problem at all their children wearing masks.
Isn't that interesting, that change? I speak to people back in Australia, and when they had many migrants from countries with big populations where masks was the norm in a polluted city, and they come to Australia and wear the masks, people thought, what are they wearing a mask for? And 2.5 years on, 3 years on, they're thinking, look how smart they are, showing some common sense by wearing a mask. It really has changed people's mindsets.
Yeah, there are leaders and followers, kids.
Yeah, as always. So the reminder then, Neil, is always if you've got a kid who is sick, please take into account the other students and also the teachers, and really think twice as to whether you want to send your child to school.
Absolutely. What we've learned is that through any kind of illness, whether it's a pandemic or not, that actually caring for your whole community is a fantastic value for you to have as an individual. And here at Sunmark School and Fortis Education, those character values are central to what we believe, and I think we should be doing that. So keep your child at home if you think they're unwell, and make your decision there with them at home, rather than chancing it and putting them into school and making a decision once they've actually already spread an illness.
Excellent, Neil. Thank you very much. Good to chat as always.
Thanks very much, you too. Take care and keep healthy.
Yes, great advice. There's Dr. Neil Hopkins, the Executive Principal at Sunmark and Fortis Education. And it's a reminder that the UAE schools, and many schools across the country, are asking parents to keep your kids if they are sick at home amid a rise in flu cases. Have you seen that? Have you seen a rise in flus around the workplace? We've seen it here a few times. It's the change of season, and I think also people being a lot more social as the weather is cooling down. Let us know your thoughts. 0586 610